Hey everyone, I wanted to give a video of shoulder rehab that I have done. First off, I'm not a medical doctor, so don't take this as medical advice, but this is merely what I have done to rehab my shoulders. Through the course of my life and lifting career, I've injured my shoulders quite a few times, mainly from bench. There's been a time I had a motorcycle accident, probably was the worst shoulder injury where it took like a month to raise my arm like this under its own power. And it took me about a year to get me back benching where I was before. But I've rehabbed my shoulders to 100%, back to 100%, through my own methods, trying stuff out, trying new things. I've never had surgery or anything like that, but that's stuff that I've done to rehab them, so I'll be going over that. So with me, really, or any athlete, kind of like pushing yourself to the limit, you're bound to get injuries. It's very hard to avoid them. If you have, very lucky, unless you have like a short career of that, of lifting or whatever. If you've lifted long, I've been lifting for 24 years, so of course bound to have some injuries, especially as hard as it seems like I've been pushing my body to its limits and past its limits. So I've dedicated, like I said, I dedicated a full day of shoulder injury because this has been a problem area of mine. Throughout like my benching or whatever, I've really built up my pecs and everything, but my shoulders have been lagging or so because my chest takes over a lot of the movements, and then therefore my shoulders get weaker, so I have to build them up or whatever. I need to focus more on strength of my shoulders so I can have less shoulder injuries. Now, with most of my rehab I've done, I really haven't taken much time off benching. Sometimes the injury was bad enough and I was off training season or so. If I didn't have a meet coming up, I'd take enough time off or whatever, rest it, just work on mobility first, and then work on the strengthening. A lot of times I've injured it, was close to a meet, so I continued to work my bench and everything like that. Even though I was injured, doing this rehab, I was able to bench 460 pounds at 181 body weight, raw or whatever, at competition, which tied my best that I've ever done. So that was one of my meet, probably my last meet I did, where I injured it the meet before, and then took a little bit of time off, and then worked it through there. It hadn't healed, but through my rehab that I did and everything, I was able to still train my bench and everything at a rate where I was able to time my best competition PR. Now, one of the first things for shoulder rehab is recognizing what caused it, what's causing it. Are you still doing that to what's injuring it? Is there something in your workout or your form that's causing your injury? One of this last injuries, it's taking a little longer to heal than what it normally does, as like healing for like tendons for me usually takes about 6 months to heal. Muscle tears, being a small tear, usually takes about a month or two. So tendons take about 6 months. This one was going on a little longer because I misidentified what was the issue. I found out that wasn't necessarily from, well, it was a combination of both pushing my bench as hard as I am and losing mobility in the squat position, having my hands back in the position here. I noticed that my shoulders were hurting more after squat than bench. Once I've identified that, my shoulders is starting to heal a little faster. I noticed less inflammation, less pain after my workouts. So that's one of the key things to do first, is identify what caused it or what's causing it. Another key factor into healing getting your shoulders to heal. One of the most important things that I've discovered for me, anyways, that I think is shoulder mobility, keeping the mobility in it. You injure it, you lose your mobility. You have to first work on that mobility to try to get it back. There's like different points that you may lose mobility. For me, it's like touching the back of here or going like this. So this is something that I work on, trying to move the range of motion in this position. Basically, anywhere I feel pain, I try, when I'm moving my arms, I try to work that position, work that so I have the mobility. So key factor is getting your mobility back, increasing your mobility range of motion or so, where you've lost it. Like I've said, I do exercises, not just like once a week or so, because I've dedicated a day in shoulder strengthening and shoulder mobility. So increasing your mobility and strengthening those areas of trouble, those range of motion that you have, is important to do. So working on mobility, I try to work that out throughout the week, most every day if I can remember. So I'll just do exercises that work the shoulders in any way or whatever, just kind of move them. So keeping the mobility in your shoulders. Another thing I noticed, like my shoulders never tend to heal unless I work that. I have to strengthen everything back up. So first I start out with light weights or whatever, mainly like saying mobility work, whatever, just kind of arm movements. Start on the bar or whatever, very light weight, and then progressively add weight throughout my rehab cycle to strengthen that weak spots that's been created by the injury. Okay, so I'm going to go over the specific exercises that I do for my shoulder rehab. The reason why I do these exercises is because that point has been compromised, it's been weakened. It's where my injury had, I noticed pain. So anywhere that in a movement I notice that I have pain, I try to strengthen that area. So these are some of the exercises that I do to strengthen these. First off, don't really use too heavy dumbbells. I'm working on strengthening my tendons and everything. So I'll start out with pretty much lighter weight and then try to progress into heavier weights. But mainly it's focusing on the movement, not so much the strength. So back to the mobility and everything. I'm trying to work out that pain, warm up my joints, tendons and everything else. So this is one of the first exercises I do. As I do this or whatever, I notice there's pain in my left shoulder from when I injured it. So I do about 10 reps of these side, kind of like a cross-side shoulder raise, because that's the area that's kind of weak and hurts. So I work through that, and eventually when working it through it, the pain goes away or whatever, and I'm able to like move up the weight. So I have to warm it up, and then I try working on strengthening in that position. So I'll do 3 sets of 10 reps of these shoulder side crosses, and then I'll do 3 sets of 10 of these side raises here, and then follow that up by front raises. So I'm trying to work my shoulder in all the positions and work out the pain that I've had. So I'll do 3 sets of 10 reps of each one, and each time I'll progress in weight if I'm able to. If it's really hurting or anything like that in the beginning of the cycle, the rehab cycle, I'll try to stay with lower weight. I may not move up weight. It's just kind of like feel what my body can handle at that time or whatever. Okay, some camera tricks here. I have the camera suspending on the ceiling and I am laying on the floor. This is another exercise I do. One of the earlier ones I've done and still working on, because I notice I have pain in this position when I raise my arm. So I try to really strengthen that area. So I'll do 3 sets of 10 reps. The reps and sets are arbitrary, just what I'm able to do. I feel that that's about where I need to be for my rehab. Anybody else's may be different, so keep that in mind. So just I'll raise it up all the way and try to like work out any pain that I have in my shoulders. And then also I'll come in and stretch out my pecs and shoulder areas, like right in here. So I'll do 3 sets, 10 reps of these, as I notice that I get a lot of muscle tears here too, small muscle tears, and while benching. So I think I need to keep that a bit flexible, stretched out, and everything. So I'll work at that, and then I'll kind of play around sometimes and just work out, do some reps and sets, and work out any pain I feel in the movement in this position here, and then try to do like rotator cuff work if I feel any pain. So I'll do movements such like this, back and forth, and try to work out any pain. Also, I've noticed that it helps too if I'll dig into my areas where I have pain and just kind of try to like dig in deep and work any of that out. So I like have a spot like right in here that's pretty tender, and I try to work in that and just like dig in deep hard with my fingers. Sometimes I'll use the edge of a rack or so. I need to get like a mobility wheel or so. I might try to look at sourcing one of those or so that I can attach to my rack and kind of work out any spots there. And then of course when I have like tightness or muscle tears in my chest, I'll do the same thing, just kind of work in there and massage any problem areas. That seems to help increase the healing for me. So something you may want to try as well. Okay, one of the next exercises I do is just shoulder strengthening by dumbbell presses. So I'll take some dumbbells, depending upon how they affect my shoulders. Sometimes my pain feels there, I'm not able to do as heavy weight. Sometimes I'm able to do more weight. So I'll do as much as I can. I'll usually do just about 3 to 5 sets, 10 reps, progressing in weight. Varies. Usually I'll start out lighter and then progress heavier. And of course, as my shoulders get stronger, I just progress heavier and heavier as most I can. Sometimes I have to back it down as well. But shoulder presses, I just did on an incline, and do 10 reps of 3 to 5 sets of these. So just some incline shoulder presses. Okay, another exercise that I do is I have a weak rear delt area. I'm trying to strengthen that, so I lay on a bench here. Usually I'll brace my foot on the rack and then work the rear delt. I'll do about 3 sets of 10 reps, maybe progressing up a weight depending upon how I feel and the strength level I'm at for it. Alright, the next exercise I do is a cable row, and I try to target my rear back delts area or whatever. So I'll do like 3 to 5 sets of 10 reps or whatever, just kind of try to work it back there. That area there for me is kind of weak, so I'll work on that some. This exercise here I started once I realized that I had an issue with holding the squat bar, straight squat bar, so I needed to work on some of my mobility with that. So I take a really like broomstick and just kind of work it back and do some exercise or stretches, mobility drills to try to work the parts of my shoulders that are affected during squatting or so, and then I'll just kind of work out any pain I feel or mobility issues, whatever. So I'll just kind of work this back in different positions, try to stretch that out so I don't have that issue. So that's basically what I do there. Now another thing to do, since I'm focused on bench pressing or whatever, getting my shoulders injury free or rehab for benching, there's some other stuff that I do to try to strengthen my bench as well. If my shoulders are injured, I try to train my triceps more and work other muscles to compensate for my injured shoulders. If my elbows are sore or injured, then I train my shoulders or do chest and stuff to try to compensate that. I really haven't had too many elbow injuries, a few or so, some sore tendons or everything, but I've been wearing elbow sleeves for quite a while now during training, and that usually helps the issues with my elbows. So the only time I really it may injure them if I overexert them or like overtrain them to the point where it's just too much for the tendons, which I've done before. So like I've hurt my shoulders and try to compensate by training more tris, then my elbows get hurt, so I have to like go forth the cycle, but that's only really happened once. But another thing just to keep in mind, if you're benching or so and your shoulders are injuries, you may want to focus on other muscles to help pick up the slack that your injury has left behind. Another important thing to keep in mind or to do is to keep the inflammation down as best as you can. Whether it be like icing or heating. Some people like to do that. I really haven't been icing. I probably should. I should probably ice more, help keep the inflammation down. Also, sometimes I have to use ibuprofen, aspirin, or Aleve, any NSAID, such like that. There's been times I've been prescribed a corticosteroid or so. I think it's prednisone, and I really didn't like that too much. Did not really have a good reaction. I took their suggested dosage and I got the hiccups real bad. It was pretty intense. Pretty much had to cut the dosage way down. It did help inflammation of that, but I really don't like using the corticosteroids just because of the damage they can actually cause. I think you should use it as a last resort if possible. But keeping the inflammation down is a big thing to consider. Alright everyone, that's basically my shoulder rehab I do. I kind of change it a little bit depending upon the injury, what's hurting and so, or what I feel I need to focus on. So hopefully it'll just give you an idea of what to target, what to work on. Basically what you do is find your area of pain, work the mobility, and then strengthen that. That's helped me get my shoulders better and keeping the strength while I'm taking time off, you could say, even though I don't really take too much time off, but just so once I start back up on my meet training cycles or so, by really pushing myself, I can press through this and keep my bench up. And now I guess you could say my squat, even though it really hasn't affected my squat, but I don't want it to. So hope that helped you guys. Thanks for listening. I guess if you have any questions, you can comment below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.